Celira darted across the jagged plains of Zephyria with the kind of precision that made the glowing flora part like water around her long, graceful form. Her ears, long and tapered like the delicate blades of a silver crescent, twitched in constant vigil, scanning for the faintest disturbance in the air. She adjusted her balance on a crystalline outcropping, her boot pressing against the phosphorescent stone with a muted hiss. The twin moons hung above her, casting overlapping silver and violet shadows across the jagged terrain. The wind carried scents unfamiliar to human senses, metallic tangs mixed with something sweet, like alien blossoms, and the faint hum of the planet's magnetic currents vibrated through her body. She was supposed to be alone on this reconnaissance mission, her orders clear. Survey the border sector, report any human activity, and avoid unnecessary engagement. In theory, it was simple. In practice, Zephyria was a land that had learned to twist the rules of physics just to make life interesting. Celira smirked under her breath, muttering in Lauren tongue at the tiny drone hovering overhead, insisting it follow her in formation as though it understood her sarcasm. If I wanted to be stalked by buzzing metal, I'd have volunteered for a human battlefield, she whispered, her voice carrying just enough amusement for the drone to register a faint blink of its optic sensors. Down in the valley below, Kale crouched behind a cluster of jagged rocks, observing her with a mixture of admiration and mild panic. His human senses were ordinary, but his patience for traps and planning was not. "All right, Kale," he muttered, fingering the straps of his energy net launcher. "You've studied this. You know exactly how this alien, graceful, long-eared menace moves. Don't blow it and try not to fry yourself in the process." The wind tugged at his armor, and a loose cable snagged on his boot, sending him stumbling. He muttered something about friendly greetings that humans supposedly used, but it sounded like a curse to anyone watching. Celira's ears twitched. She felt a shift in the energy currents of the terrain, subtle, almost playful, and entirely human in origin. Her eyes narrowed, scanning the ridges. "Humans," she hissed softly, "always leaving a signature like a neon billboard." She leapt across a crevasse, landing with a barely audible whisper, and the drone zipped after her, bumping into the air in mild confusion. "You know, I swear, if this thing were human, I'd fire it for incompetence," she joked aloud. Her own laughter was soft, melodic, and entirely human-like. Kale readied his trap, a grid of fine energy nets designed to ensnare without harming. He pressed a button and watched a faint shimmer form in the space where Celira would land. "Okay," he whispered to himself, "if this works, I'm a genius. If it doesn't, well, at least I'll have a good story for the mess hall." The trap pulsed faintly, waiting. Celira's feet touched the ground lightly, her ears swiveling. She paused, sensing something unusual in the energy currents beneath her. "Odd," she murmured. The vibration pattern human, slightly clumsy. Definitely not lethal, curious, and annoyingly persistent. She extended one hand, fingers brushing the air in front of her, as if reading the hidden waves around her. A faint spark of green shimmered along the tip of her finger, and she grinned. Predictable. Kale's heart jumped. She was approaching the trap, slow and deliberate, her movements almost teasing in their elegance. "Just walk into it," he muttered. "Please, for once, let the physics work in my favor." Celira's smile widened. "How very confident of you, little human." When she landed on the energy grid, it snapped shut with a hiss of restrained power. Celira's eyes widened in surprise, but the moment was fleeting. She tilted her head, her ears flattening in mock offense. "Really?" she said aloud, her tone dripping amusement. "You expect me to be impressed by a human toy? I have seen nebula storms more intimidating than this." Her hands moved with lightning precision, untangling the energy field like a pianist plucking the strings of a delicate instrument. Kale cursed under his breath, trying to recalibrate the net before she fully escaped. Celira looked up at him, one eyebrow raised. "Oh dear, are you trying to catch me? That's adorable." She laughed softly, and Kale could hear the lilt of amusement even from a distance. He muttered, "I hate her already," though the corners of his mouth twitched in reluctant acknowledgement of her skill. Their banter continued as Celira finally stepped back from the trap, brushing off faint sparks of energy with her fingers. Kale decided to take the bold approach, running down the ridge, weapon lowered, offering a ridiculous grin. "Hey, can we negotiate terms? Like maybe you don't roast me on sight." Salira's ears twitched sharply. She cocked her head and regarded him, amusement twinkling in her golden eyes. Negotiate? Oh, humans always so optimistic. Very well. Terms of engagement: you do not die today. I promise to keep my insults civil. For now, Kale blinked. Civil insults are a thing. They are when I'm feeling generous, Salira replied, and amusingly when I am entertained. Kale hesitated, realizing that this was no ordinary capture. Salira was brilliant, swift, and deadly, yes, but she was also delightfully unpredictable. He tried to think of a clever retort, but his brain short-circuited at the sight of her ears flicking in rhythm with her laughter. Okay, he said finally. I'll take that as a yes. Civil insults for now, that's our deal. Salira's eyes narrowed playfully. For now, yes. But human, I must warn you, the next step in our engagement may involve actual combat. Or perhaps curiosity. One cannot predict these things. Curiosity? Kale echoed, raising an eyebrow. I think we both know whose curiosity is more dangerous. Their laughter, one metallic and human, one musical and alien, carried across the plains. Salira's gaze swept the horizon, calculating the safest path while Kale followed, tripping over a stray rock but managing to save face with an exaggerated bow. Fear not, fair alien. I too have impeccable balance. Salira twitched her ears in amusement. Balance is one thing, human. Grace under pressure is another. Let's see if you survive my next lesson. As they moved through the crystalline terrain, dodging natural hazards and teasing each other relentlessly, Kale realized that this capture would not be simple. Salira was not a prisoner. She was a challenge, a puzzle, and perhaps, though he would never admit it aloud, a welcome distraction from the monotony of border patrols. They crossed a river of liquid light, Salira gliding over it effortlessly while Kale struggled, slipping and cursing as the current tugged at his boots. Careful, she called, flicking her hand in mock warning. You humans and your clumsy attempts at heroism. Kale splashed into the river, water sluicing over his armor, and shot her a drenched, exaggerated glare. And you aliens and your smugness. One day, I swear, I'll get the upper hand. Salira's laugh echoed across the riverbanks, musical and teasing, blending with the strange hum of Zephyria's natural currents. She moved with the elegance of someone who had spent years mastering survival, yet Kale could feel her amusement softening the danger that surrounded them. By the time they reached a safer ridge, Kale was breathless, wet, and oddly exhilarated. Salira, meanwhile, dusted her hands off and offered a small, rare smile. You are entertaining, not entirely useless for a human. Kale grinned, wiping water from his eyes. I'll take that as a compliment. One day, alien girl, you'll regret underestimating human stubbornness. Salira tilted her head, her ears flicking as though to consider the claim. Perhaps, she said, or perhaps it is I who will enjoy watching you try. And so, on the ridges of Zephyria, with twin moons casting shifting shadows and the strange hum of the planet beneath their feet, a human warrior and an alien scout began a strange, bantering dance of pursuit, capture, and reluctant fascination. Neither yet knew that this meeting, sparked by a simple trap, would twist into something neither expected. A test of survival, trust, and the humor hidden even in the direst circumstances. Salira sat cross-legged on the metal floor of the human outpost, her ears twitching as she studied the odd, blinking lights and humming panels surrounding her. The humans had an obsession with flashing gadgets, she thought, and while some were harmless, others, judging by the sparks Kale had already generated by accidentally calibrating the power grid, were potentially lethal. She leaned forward, tapping a panel with one slender finger, and watched a holographic map of Zephyria shift beneath her touch. Fascinating, she murmured. Humans actually think they understand the terrain. Adorable, really. Kale appeared in the doorway, slipping on a puddle of spilled coolant. He caught himself with a loud, metallic clang. Ah, there you are, Madame Alien. Inspecting our advanced technology, I see. He gave an exaggerated bow, dripping wet from his latest misadventure with the water filtration system. Salira's golden eyes sparkled. You call this advanced? She asked, gesturing to the sparking consoles. I've seen sentient crystals with better coordination than these. Kale grinned, brushing the grime from his armor. Well, our sentient crystals tend to yell a lot and occasionally explode. You should consider yourself lucky. She rolled her eyes, but the ghost of a smile played across her lips. Lucky, perhaps, or doomed to endure your clumsy human humor. The morning, or what passed for morning under Zephyria's twin moons, was spent in a tense but oddly playful standoff. Celira tested every device she could reach, often setting off alarms that Kale had to scramble to silence. Each time he did, he muttered a running commentary under his breath. I swear, one day these Lauren will get me killed just for fun. Celira caught the remark and flicked her ears in amusement. I wouldn't underestimate us. Some of us are excellent at getting humans into trouble. Including you, apparently. Kale rubbed the back of his neck, pretending to be exasperated. And yet, somehow you're my guest. How does that work exactly? Celira tilted her head, her ears flicking in thoughtful amusement. Power dynamics, human. You think you hold the power because you trapped me. But the truth is, I hold my own. I am here of my own curiosity and perhaps to test your patience. Their conversation was interrupted by a sudden alert. A drone approaching the outpost perimeter. Kale immediately reached for his blaster, but Celira raised a hand. Wait, let me see, she said. Her long fingers danced across the controls of one of the observation panels, pulling up a live feed. The drone was scanning, its sensors flickering like confused fireflies. Not hostile yet, but curious, much like your kind, she added with a sly glance. Kale grunted. Curious can still mean deadly, or embarrassing if it sees me fall again. Celira laughed softly, the sound musical and teasing. Humans, always so worried about appearances. I like that about you. As the day passed, they moved to the tactical training area, Kale trying and failing to teach Celira some human combat routines. She was efficient, elegant, and absurdly fast, dodging his attempts to demonstrate various techniques, often mocking him with exaggerated commentary. Human muscles, such drama, she teased as he nearly fell on his back while demonstrating a low sweep. You do realize you look like a flailing starfish. Flailing starfish, Kale repeated, glaring at her playfully. You'll regret that when He tripped over a stray energy conduit, crashing into the floor with a metallic bang. Celira's laughter echoed across the training hall, her ears twitching with each note. Ah yes, she said, crouching elegantly beside him. Regret and embarrassment are not mutually exclusive for humans. Lesson 1 complete. Despite the teasing, Kale noticed that Celira was observing everything with sharp intelligence, cataloging every movement and weak point in the training area. You're not just here to humiliate me, he said cautiously, realizing that she was also analyzing human strategy. Not just to humiliate, no, she said with a mischievous smirk. Curiosity, observation, survival, your species has its quirks, but it's interesting. And frankly, you are far more amusing than I anticipated. Their tentative partnership became more practical when a sudden breach alert sounded. Kale's heart leapt. What now? He muttered, scrambling to grab a sidearm. Celira rose gracefully, ears twitching, ready to analyze. Relax, let's assess first, she said, moving toward the monitoring console. The screen displayed a rogue scouting party from her own people moving toward the outpost. Oh, she said, tapping a few controls, your luck continues. They're fast, but not invisible. Shall we play a game of survival? Kale raised an eyebrow. A game? Somehow I don't think this is the Monopoly version. No, far more interesting, Celira replied, her golden eyes gleaming. Life, death, clever maneuvering, and hopefully minimal embarrassment for you. They moved through the outpost with fluid coordination, Celira pointing out structural weaknesses that could be used to their advantage. Kale, despite his bluster, realized he was beginning to rely on her intuition, and she seemed to enjoy watching him try not to stumble over both obstacles and his own bravado. Step lightly, human. The floor here doesn't forgive clumsiness, she warned, though her tone was playful rather than harsh. Kale grumbled but obeyed, following her instructions while muttering sarcastic comments. And of course, I'm just supposed to follow the long-eared goddess around like a loyal puppy. Fantastic. Celira flicked her ears sharply. Goddess, I think you flatter yourself, human. I am merciful, yes, entertaining perhaps, but goddess. You humans have such dramatic imaginations. By the time they reached the observation deck, the rogue Lauren scouts were closing in. Kale readied his blaster, while Celira manipulated a control panel with effortless precision, creating a network of holographic decoys and energy barriers that confused their adversaries. You're like a walking tactical anomaly, Kale muttered in awe. I prefer entertaining inconvenience for humans, Celira replied, eyes glinting with humor. And now, we wait to see how you handle your role in this highly amusing scenario. The scouts advanced, only to find themselves ensnared in a series of traps, both clever and ridiculous. Pressure plates that activated holographic duplicates of Kale flailing, energy nets that left them tangled like glowing spaghetti, and walls of shifting light that made them stumble in confusion. Celira's laughter, melodic and teasing, echoed through the chamber. "Observe, human," she called, "the benefits of working with someone who actually understands strategy." Kale, despite the chaos, couldn't help grinning. All right, you're impressive. But don't think I'm not learning from this," he shouted over the commotion. Minutes later, the rogue scouts were retreating, snarling and clearly frustrated. Kale wiped sweat from his brow, panting. "I have to admit that was surprisingly effective, and strangely fun." Celira tilted her head, ears flicking as she studied him. "Fun? That is a human response to survival. Remarkable. You may have potential after all." Kale raised a hand in mock salute. "I'll take that as a compliment, Madame Alien. Potential is my middle name. Well, not literally, but it should be." As the tension eased, they shared a quiet moment, surveying the outpost and the glowing landscape beyond. Celira's gaze lingered on the horizon, considering the precarious balance between their species, and Kale realized that, for all their differences, there was a strange harmony in their partnership. Humor, trust, and a mutual understanding that neither of them could have predicted. Celira's ears twitched softly. "Human," she said quietly, "you are tolerable, perhaps even enjoyable. Do not let that inflate your ego." Kale grinned, feeling the weight of exhaustion mixed with exhilaration. "Tolerable, enjoyable. I'll take it, though I think I prefer heroic, personally." "You are not heroic," Celira replied, ears flicking in amusement. "You are stubborn, curious, and occasionally amusing. Heroic is overrated anyway." Kale chuckled, leaning back against the railing, wet, dirty, and somehow exhilarated. "Overrated, huh? Maybe. But I'm learning from the best, long-eared tactical genius at your service." Celira's lips curved into a faint, rare smile. "At your service, for now, human, for now." And as Zephyria's twin moons glimmered above them, casting shifting patterns of light across the outpost, Kale and Celira understood, without needing words, that their strange, bantering partnership had survived its first real test, and that the real challenges, full of danger, humor, and unexpected trust, were just beginning. The alarms blared through the outpost, echoing across the metallic corridors like a chorus of angry nebulae. Kale cursed under his breath, yanking on his armor straps. "Great, just what we needed. A rogue Lauren strike team, because of course they can't have a quiet day." Celira's ears twitched sharply as she scanned the holographic map, her golden eyes narrowing. "They're fast, coordinated, and probably think they're clever," she said. "Human, try to keep up. We have a deadline before things get messy." Kale raised an eyebrow, attempting to sound confident as he sprinted alongside her. "Deadline, right? My favorite part of war, deadlines. Who knew survival had a schedule?" She shot him a glance that was both amused and exasperated. "You'll learn to appreciate efficiency, human, or you'll die trying. Either outcome is educational." The first wave of Lauren's scouts emerged from the ridges, their sleek, silver-blue armor glinting in the light of Zephyria's twin moons. Kale readied his blaster, heart-pounding, while Celira flicked her fingers across a portable console she carried, generating a series of holographic decoys that shimmered like ghostly twins of herself. "Observe and learn," she whispered, "and try not to get yourself vaporized." Kale ducked behind a ridge as one of the decoys drew laser fire, muttering, "You're enjoying this too much." Celira only smiled faintly, her ears flicking like delicate sensors. "Enjoyment is a survival tactic," she said. "You'll understand eventually." They moved through the jagged terrain with fluid coordination, Kale following her instructions while Celira set traps, diverted drones, and manipulated the environment to their advantage. Despite the tension, moments of humor surfaced. Kale tripped over a rock and landed in a puddle of bioluminescent liquid, causing a scout to pause in confusion. "Perfect," Celira called out. "Use the puddles. They think you're a glowing threat." Kale groaned, scraping slime from his armor. "I look ridiculous, thank you for pointing that out." The scouts pressed forward, and the air shimmered with energy pulses from Celira's improvised barriers. one scout stumbled into a field of disorienting holograms, spinning helplessly as Kale dodged another volley of laser fire. "You're actually terrifying when you work like this," Kale admitted, panting. Celira flicked her wrist, sending a pulse through the ground that knocked several scouts off balance. "Terrifying? No, human. Strategic. Entertainingly dangerous, yes, but terrifying? Only to those who can't think ahead." They advanced toward the central ridge, where the rogue faction's leader was attempting to hack into the outpost's main systems. Kale scanned the area, his usual bravado mingling with genuine concern. "So? Plan." Celira smiled faintly. "You, human, will be the distraction. Me, I handle the fun part." Kale blinked. "Distraction? Fun part? Somehow, I feel like I'm about to be part of a very expensive science experiment." Celira's laugh, melodic and teasing, cut through the tension. "Exactly, now move." Kale sprinted forward, waving his blaster and shouting taunts, drawing the attention of the rogue Lauren team. One of them lunged at him, only to slip on the bioluminescent puddle, landing in a heap that sparkled like a strange alien firework. Celira appeared above the leader in a blur, her long ears flattening in focus as she tapped into the outpost's energy network, sending pulses that disabled weapons and immobilized several attackers. Kale staggered back, panting. "Okay, that was impressive, slightly terrifying actually." Celira glanced at him, a hint of amusement in her gaze. "You're learning, human, and yes, slightly terrifying is the correct assessment." The battle reached its climax as the rogue leader attempted a final strike. Celira anticipated the movement, her agility unmatched, and in a fluid motion, she deflected the attack, sending the leader sprawling into a containment field. Kale, drenched, dirty, and exhausted, could only stare. "Wow, just wow." Celira's ears flicked, and she offered a rare smile. "You survived. I admit, I doubted your resilience. Perhaps humans are more capable than I anticipated." Kale wiped grime from his face, shaking his head. "And you're less terrifying than I thought. Don't let that go to your head." As the rogue scouts retreated, disoriented and defeated, the outpost's automated systems reset, and calm returned. Celira and Kale stood side by side, surveying the quiet landscape. The danger had passed, but the bond forged in chaos remained. "You handled that remarkably," Kale said, finally allowing a small grin. "Even if you do look down on me every chance you get." Celira tilted her head, ears flicking in amusement. "I do not look down, human. I merely maintain perspective, and perhaps enjoy the occasional human pratfall. It is educational." Kale chuckled. "I'll take that as a compliment, sort of." The following days were filled with reflection and planning. Celira, once an outsider and reluctant captive, began to understand humans not just as adversaries, but as allies capable of creativity, humor, and tenacity. Kale, in turn, recognized the depth of Lauren intelligence, their grace and strategic brilliance, and their capacity for trust. Both had changed. Kale had grown from brash warrior to cautious strategist, tempered by respect and genuine curiosity. Celira had shifted from wary scout to partner, willing to collaborate and even joke, finding humor in the unpredictability of humans. They shared small, mundane victories, repairing the outpost's power systems, testing the limits of the environment, and occasionally teasing each other. Kale, tripping over a stray cable or slipping on a puddle, continued to be the comic foil to Celira's elegance. "You know," she said one evening, adjusting a holographic map, "you are remarkably resilient for a species so dramatic." Kale smirked, leaning back against a railing. "Dramatic, I prefer passionate, but I'll take resilient, makes me sound heroic." "You are not heroic," Celira replied, her ears twitching with amusement. "You are stubborn, curious, occasionally infuriating, but entertaining. And yes, resilient, that counts for something." Their partnership, forged in traps, banter, and battles, had become genuine. They no longer